Good evening, everyone. Hope I'm audible. Yes. Hi, Shoaib. Good evening, Avi. So, this is the first poem. Today, we are doing poems by male poets. So, the first poem, which is by William Wordsworth. It's a huge poem. So, I had just taken a part of it because in that you won't get entire poems. Normally, sometimes they choose the smaller poems, and sometimes if the poem is long, they just keep the things that are relevant. So, 1 minute to read the poem, 2 minutes because there might be some words which you might have to think, or let's say 1 minute 30 seconds. So I start the timer over here. Daffodils, yeah. This is not literature class. I hope you understand that. I can go full-fledged in literature, but because this is that, so we won't go full-fledged into literature. We'll do things which are relevant to us for answering the questions that have been asked. All right. So let's go to the questions now. 1 minute for each question. So 1 minute over for this. Well, okay, let's take 1.5 minutes for each question, not a problem. Here's the poem, Prathamesh, if you want to take the screenshot. So obviously, as you see, in between, I have removed some parts of the poem because that's a very long poem. This one. Good evening. What just happened? Hello. Did something happen or is it visible to all of you? Hello. Yeah, I see some issue. It's visible. Okay. All right. Here are the questions. I hope you've taken the screenshot. All right. I go to next one now. Are we in the mosque currently? The timing is 40 minutes to DM, 50 to VLR, 80 to QDY plus loose ends. You play and understand the poem. Oh, Avi, that's a great thing. Well, I don't see any answers from you guys. The poem is difficult. I'm going to next question now. I'll drop this after this question. I'll show the questions once more. Probably some guys joined late, I think, huh? Hey, Devashish, long time. You want to see the questions again? So I'll be showing the questions 20 seconds each. Once again from question one, two, and three. All right, Devashish. But I think this one, this time is suitable to you. Next one, in case anybody wants to answer again. All right. I think we should discuss the questions now. Everybody has answered. Okay. By William Wordsworth, this poem is called Lines Written Above Tintern Abbey. A very famous poem. So it's a huge poem, but I have just clipped down to, just to make sense of the questions. 5 years have passed, 5 summers, the length of 5 long winters. Now, basically, what the poet is saying, Wordsworth, majorly he talks about nature. In case you have read his poems, so he's a romantic poet who talks about nature most of the times. By the way, he was a mix of classic and romantic. Okay, now, so 5 years have passed, 5 summers with the length of 5 long winters. Do you know what is romantic poet and who is a classic poet? Classic poem and romantic poems. So people who think romantic poems belong to love, they are wrong. Romantic poems, even classic, can belong to love. That is the thing. So you know what? Majorly in the 21st century context, people do not know the meaning of romance. About just love. Romance is Romance is majorly about things which you kind of feel, and then when you write it, you are kind of dramatizing it. Okay, dramatizing, and most of it is imagination. That comes under romantic. It is romanticism. Okay, and classicism is when you portray the things the way they are. All right, the way they are. By the way, I can take a huge session on just classicism and romanticism. It will be 100 hours long session, but that's not required to you guys. You're not literature students, and we are not. I'm not teaching literature over here, though I can, but I'm not teaching it here. So you need to understand the major difference: classic and romantic. That's all for you. Okay, for the people who are preparing for MBA. Okay, now having said that, so the author is trying to portray 5 years as combination of summers and winters. All right, majorly. And again, I hear these waters rolling from their mountain springs with a soft inland murmur. So basically, it looks like the poet has, after 5 years, either he has visited the same place, right? Or maybe he has been living there for 5 years and every year he sees the same thing. The same thing is happening. Nothing has changed. Okay. So he hears these waters rolling from their mountain springs with a soft inland murmur. It can be brook, it can be river, it can be just a waterfall. Once again, do I behold these steep and lofty cliffs? For I have learned to look on nature not as in the hour of thoughtless youth, but hearing oftentimes the still sad music of humanity. Now, so with 5 years, what exactly has happened? What exactly has happened? What's poet trying to say? It's not about the 5 years that has been that is important. What important is 5 years of the poets or the entire any humans youth. Okay, this is more important. Getting it? So in these 5 years, what has happened? Now he has learned one thing. He has learned that the nature is not the same as the thoughtless youth. Okay, so whenever you do look at the nature, you always try to understand and you feel this, that humanity has got a music and it's a sad music. Somehow this is sad. It's a melancholic thing. It's not exactly sad. When you say sad, melancholy, you know what is melancholy? Melancholy is more philosophical in nature, philosophical sadness in which you feel okay, things are not changing, things are the way they are, and that is the sad part of it, because you are changing but the nature is not changing. Getting it? So he was thoughtless first, but now he has learned, he has come in terms with nature. Is that understood? After 5 years of passing his youth, now he feels that he now understands, or now he has come in terms with nature. Is that clear? That is the only thing. Hi. That is the only thing that is relevant over here. Cool. Now, let's look at the questions. The question says, which of the following, Sherbani wrote something, but she retracted the message. What's your real answer? So, the following best describes the evolution of speaker's relationship with nature. So, Wordsworth talks about the thoughtlessness, the thoughtless youth, right? He starts from there, and now he's talking about the maturity, the mature presence, I can say, right? From thoughtless youth to mature presence, right? And this presence is majorly spiritual, right? Is majorly spiritual, moral, all that stuff. So, which of the following options actually captures that? From a source of aesthetic pleasure to reminder of historical decay, people might choose A. I think a lot of you chose A. I think Sharwani did. Antonio from Merchant of Venice, yes. And in this play called, what do you call it? As You Like It, Touchstone was a figure of melancholy. Okay, from a purely sensory experience to a medium for spiritual reflection, looks like B is a better thing. So historical decay is not like, when the author mentioned sad music, it's not the decay of history. No, it's basically spiritual reflection, the melancholic nature of it. From a childhood playground to a source of intellectual frustration, he's not really frustrated anywhere. So I can eliminate C because of the presence of this word frustration. From a chaotic, wild, secluded scene to a structured inland murmur. Now, this also captures the evolution of the poem, but not the speaker's relationship. That is why I can eliminate D. A place of physical refuse to manifestation of sad music. This is like too literal to go about it. The poem is not that literal. Poem has got a lot of figures of speech. So we'll go for B. Clear? Nah. Next one. Still sad music of humanity implies that the speaker. Still sad music of humanity. Sad music of humanity. Sad music of humanity is basically the maturity from thoughtfulness, youth, the maturity that the speaker, that the author, the poet has achieved, right? So now he perceives the world in a much different way, even if the world is same, because what has changed? Not the world, but he has changed. Okay, so let's see which options captures that. Views human suffering as a rhythmic part of natural cycle. Human suffering is not the main thing over here. Human suffering is just a part of it. So I can eliminate A. Believes nature is indifferent to the noise of human civilization. Finds maturity allows him to hear universal truths in nature's silence. Right. So nature is indifferent. You can kind of somehow perceive that, but nature is indifferent. We can actually, kind of choose this option when this thing is given in such a way that we whatever is given is from the point of perspective of the speaker, of the poet, not from the perspective of nature. That is why. So nature's perspective is not given. That is why we can eliminate B. Getting it? Nature is indifferent or not. That's not the case. The case is nature's point of view is not given over here. Right? C. Fine maturity allows him to, yeah, that looks correct to me. Is mourning the loss of his youth and the onset of long winter. Is not mourning the loss at all. Uses music as a metaphor for the grating realities of social injustice. Social injustice, too far-fetched. We'll go for C. Prathamesh says, like cat, do we have a must-read concepts which can be read in these remaining days after poem? Can you suggest this? Must-read concepts. I'm taking a series of marathons for that, and I'll be. You just have to watch the marathons, and every concept will be cleared. Okay. Do not read anything. So whatever is required, I'll be doing in the class. Clear? Okay. Now the next one. The author mentions 5 long winters. Primarily. To do what? Establish a chronological timeline for the poem's historical setting, contrast the warmth of summer with its current emotional state, emphasize the psychological weight of the time elapsed, suggest that the nature only provides comfort during specific cycles, highlight the meteorological changes in the Y Valley. This is out of context. Specific cycles, that is not important here. Chronological time, that can be a possibility, but the primary reason is not this. This can be secondary reason. You're getting it? The primary reason contrasts the warmth of summer with his current emotional state, emphasize psychological bit of time elapsed. So basically, 5 long winters. When it says long, so it was 5 long winters, or let's say 5 long summers, or the 5 years, all that is all about the time that has elapsed from his youthfulness to his maturity, right? So it's more about the psychology that has changed. His psychology has changed, right? Dumalu Bidhi? What Bidhi? Okay. So psychology has changed because he's transformed from a careless youth to a much matured gentleman. So we'll go with C. Correct answers are B, C, C. How many of you got this right? Yeah. Next is Ozymandias, Percy Bysshe Shelley. You know what? PB Shelley was I think somehow, I think I'm correct. He was the first Nobel winner for literature. I think I'm right. Let me just check that out. No, it was not him. It was Sully Prudhomme. I think he was the first poet who got this. All right, the time starts now. And PB Shelley, man, not a woman. A lot of people think that PB Shelley was a woman. The name is like that. Percy Bysshe Shelley. Also take the screenshot. Hello, Vintage Gold. Oh, you're here as well. Read the poem. Chalo. Here we have the questions. Like number 7. You have a class at 7. This one I think can be a difficult poem, right? The Watchman series. Okay. Wow, people are answering. That's really great. Next. Maybe the word ephemeral. That's a good way to answer. Next. Arithro, yes, that's totally right. How do you know this? I think you have read Ozymandias earlier as well. Huh? It was based on real Egyptian king Ramesses too. I just feel, I should start teaching literature. I just love it. I love it the same way as I love mathematics. But then, and that is the only exam in which I can do a bit of literature. But then the time left for that is very less. How are the questions, by the way? You like the questions? Read during school days? Sure. That's good. Okay. So Ozymandias, I met a traveler from an antique land who said, two vast and trunkless legs of stone stand in the desert. The moment I see this, um, yeah, it looks like okay, there's an antique land and the traveler was coming from there. So obviously, if he's from this antique land, why antique is important here? Antique is important because the traveler, being from the antique land, can actually discuss antique things, ancient things, right? So he said, two vast and trunkless legs of stone stand in the desert. Well, legs of stone, that means it's talking about some kind of statue. Can I say that? This is what kind of metonymy, figure of speech, right? Using a different word for something, some other object, right? Metonymy. It's called metonymy, figure of speech. Okay, so it's talking about a statue. Okay, and stone stand in the desert. Desert. What does that mean? Statue is standing in a desert, and the land is antique. So probably the statue was made, when it was made, it might have been a huge empire, a huge kingdom, or maybe a huge city, but now it has all turned down to dust. Can I say that? Yes. Can I say that? Yes or no? All right. Tell me, everyone, those who have not, I don't think everybody has read this poem, but those who have not. Yeah, well. Near them on the sand, half sunk, a shattered visage lies. Okay, okay. उसी के पास sand में half sunk a shattered visage. What is visage? The face. Okay. So statue's face is like half sunk. It's half sunk inside the desert. Can you see? Can you visualize it? This is imagery. Imagery. Whose frown and wrinkled lip and sneer of cold command. And on the pedestal, these words appeared: My name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look on my works, ye mighty in despair, nothing beside remains. So, King of Kings. So basically, this person, Ozymandias, he's like a great king. He might have been a great king in the past. Okay, now look on my works, ye mighty in despair. So, look on my works. This is more about the art. Probably, this was written by the sculptor who made it, who made the statue, isn't it? The artist who made it. Look on my works, ye mighty in despair. Nothing beside remains. Now, this works can have two meanings, two interpretation. One is that if the artist has written that, other is the works of the king himself. Okay, which is kind of quite straight. Nothing beside remains. So in the end, this is something that Shelley says: nothing beside remains. Nothing remains. So whatever you do, in the end, everything will be falling down to sand. So sand can also be a metaphor for um, obscurity, uselessness, lack of utility, or just things getting outdated. Understood? So sand, whenever you think about sand, you think about barrenness, isn't it? Things are barren now, they're not fertile, there is no life over there. Getting it? And we also say sands of time. So sand basically signifies nothingness, obscurity. Do you understand that? Yes or no? Shoaib, over the years, ISC, SSC, literature standard has fallen? Maybe. Because, yeah, that might be true. 15 years back, when I was doing that, so it was the curriculum was great. I don't know what has happened now. Sand can be fast slipping also. Yes, yes, Prathamesh. Sand can be used as a metonymy for fast slipping things like time. Okay, but majorly, if you look, if you talk about sand, it's a metaphor, also serves an imagery for something that is obscure now. Okay, in this case, it's obscurity. In the case of this poem. Okay, now let us look at the questions. The irony presented in the description of on the pedestal is primarily a commentary on what? All right. The skill of the sculptor compared to the vanity of the king, the linguistic shift in the meaning of the word despair, the ephemeral nature of political power against geological time, the traveler's inability to recognize historical significance, the cold command of a leader who failed his people. All right. So, what is the irony? The irony here is look on my works. Look on my works. All right. Right. So the irony here is which work we're looking at. The work has already been erased by the sand, right? By the desert. Understood? The work that he wants to, show in that statue that was made, the king wanted, that okay, people should look at my works. But now the works are nowhere to be seen. It's all sand, it's all desert. That is the irony. Okay, so ephemeral is something that is short lived, the ephemeral nature of political power against geological time. So, in the geological time, all the political power ceases to exist after a while. We'll go for C. Clear? All of you got it? And the word ephemeral, as Prathamesh says, said that this is the reason that why he chose C. And that's a good reason, I would say. Coming to the next one. What does survival of the passions on lifeless things suggest about art? Survival of passion on lifeless things. Okay. So here the thing is, when you make a lifeless thing, just like a statue, okay, though the statue was representing some person, That person will be gone, but what survives? The art. The art survives, isn't it? The art of that lifeless thing, the statue, that still survives. Okay, so let's see. Art is a passive reflection that dies with its subject. No, it doesn't die. It doesn't die. So A goes totally against it. Okay, against suggestion, right? A is just the just contradictory to what the author is saying here. Artistic interpretation is more enduring than physical being. That looks totally correct to me. Looking at C, passion is a destructive force that shatters its medium. Ah, no, that is not what it means. It talks about the how art survives, but the muse is gone. Muse is the correct word. You know what a muse is? Muse, someone who inspires any art form. The sculptor deliberately attempted to sabotage the king's reputation. No, it was geological time that sabotaged the statue and the entire kingdom. And reputation was not sabotaged, by the way. Only those who have a heart that feeds appreciate stone. That is totally, highly generic. We'll go for B. By the way, Muse, I have created an AI actress. I don't know how many of you know that. I posted on LinkedIn and I call her Aina. Aina. Okay, so Aina is the name, and now there's a kind of hidden um, symbolism. AI is for artificial intelligence. So I have made an actress, and with her I have made like three short movies, and right now I'm making a long movie as well. So I'm just saying, telling this to you to give an example that Aina is my muse. Now, thing is, and I don't know whether this can be a great thing to know or maybe a very dark thing to feel that my muse is not a real person. It's totally AI generated image. Yes, mirror. Also, it means mirror only because the way I'm representing her in different movies and and the stories that I'm writing around her, they all reflect different personalities. So mirror reflects it. So there are two meanings. The meaning of the Aina word, like in Urdu, Aina is mirror, and AI. Why I chose AI because of artificial intelligence. In fact, the characters that she's playing are called Nana, Rana, etc. Okay, so yeah, well, I don't know. 21st century, mein, the way art form is changing, there might be the muses are not the real people. Wow, I don't know. Let's see what happens. अभी एक फिल्म फेस्टिवल में भेजूंगा मैं एक को अप्रैल में. Coming to sixth, the phrase lone and level sands serves to level sands level. That means everything gets equal. Leveling up. Now we are level. So leveling up. So basically everything is equal now. Let's see. Emphasize the architectural grandeur of the Egyptian landscape. Egyptian landscape है कि नहीं हमें पता ही नहीं है, so we can just eliminate A. Provide a sense of balance and symmetry to the visage. Lone and level sands, balance and symmetry to tiny, which was already destroyed. It was half inside the this thing. So symmetry might be there, sense of balance might be there because it's half submerged in the sea, not sea, sand. Um, Lone and level sands. Let's see, there might be a better option. Act as a metaphor for the utilitarian nature of death and time. Hmm. Pratmesh, absolutely. All right. By the way, it looks like death and time, lone and level sands. Okay, let's see others also. Suggests that the king's works were buried by a specific disaster. Specific disaster? Don't really know. Highlight the traveler's isolation in the antique land. Lone and level sands. It's leveling actually, balancing things. So we'll go for C, nothing else. Because it doesn't talk about the lone traveler. It talks about the lone statue that is there, right? Clear? All of you got that? C. By the way, what is egalitarian? It's a political rule in which everybody is equal. Everybody is treated equal. So there is no hierarchies in the humans. All right, 3 on 3, Haritro. Well done. Coming to next one. John Keats. You know what? John Keats is my somehow I would say my favorite. Okay, I want to tell you something, a trivia. The three major pillars of romanticism are Wordsworth, P.B. Shelley, and John Keats. And you know what? इन तीनों का ही मैंने यहाँ पे क्वेश्चन भी कराया. Wordsworth, P.B. Shelley, and John Keats. I want to tell you something. These three are considered to be the major pillars of Romanticist era. In fact, P.B. Shelley and Wordsworth also moved into classicism, and John Keats is considered to be the last of the Romantics. You know, the last Romantic. Now, there is that what critics say. They say that Wordsworth tried to beautify the nature. Everybody wrote for about nature, beautified the nature. P.B. Shelley tried to intellectualize the nature, and John Keats tried to present the nature the way it is. All right, the way it is. So there is no opinion of Keats in any of his poems except one. There is one poem called La Belle Dame Sans Mercy. That was my favorite poem. I don't know you have read or not. La Belle Dame Sans Mercy. So I think there is some opinion in that, maybe some opinion, not much. So John Keats represented the nature the way it is, and that is why John Keats is considered to be the most perfect romantic poet of all times because his poems, whatever it depends on the perception of the readers, not the poet. Do you understand that? So Wordsworth खुद ब्यूटिफाई करते थे, Shelley इंटेलेक्चुअलाइज करते थे, and John Keats just like that. And by the way, you have read two poems by now. One is by Wordsworth, in which Wordsworth talked about nature, beautified or did whatever. And Shelley, he tried to intellectualize it a lot, right? It was all intellectual things, antique lands, sands of time, leveling up, all that stuff, isn't it? Do you agree? And now, when I show you what Keats has written, you will realize that he has got no opinion. And that is the reason, even in filmmaking, my favorite filmmaker is Steven Spielberg. A lot of people, I'm totally into arts. So people think that my favorite will be probably Scorsese or Tarantino or Coppola, Francis Ford Coppola, or maybe Brian De Palma, or maybe Robert Zemeckis, right? Or Sergio Leone, or all these people, or Tarantino. Tarantino तो वैसे नहीं होना चाहिए ideally. So people think that this is what I'm going to, mention. Or sometimes people think, okay, might be Roland. But I've always maintained that my favorite is Steven Spielberg. My reason is that Steven Spielberg presents the things the way they are. I can watch a film and within 5 minutes I'll tell you who the director is. Like it's very obvious in Nolan, in Tarantino, some cases of Scorsese as well, and David Fincher. It's pretty obvious. I was watching a recent movie called Killer. 2 मिनट बाद मैंने बोला दोस्त से अपने फिंचर का है क्या फिंचर की मूवी निकली वो so but Spielberg, even after watching everything, you won't be able to realize it's Spielberg. So Spielberg's body of work is huge, and he has created movies in all the possible genre, and in all the genre he has made great movies. Creature feature के लिए Jaws is still considered to be the best. Jurassic Park. Talk about war. It was this movie called Saving Private Ryan. Right. If we talk about the crime, it's Catch Me If You Can. If we talk about animation, The Adventures of Tintin, Big Friendly Giant. Biopic, it was Lincoln. Right. So Spielberg, brilliant. I would say he is my favorite. The reason is simple. I think what John Keats was in poems, it's Spielberg in movie making. How many of you agree to that? And tell me your favorite filmmakers or poets here. कुछ तो literary हो थोड़ा बहुत artistic हो. Yeah, tell me. And that one movie about World War, what was that called? Schindler's List. Schindler's List. Again, Spielberg. Spielberg has got an understanding of a infant's mind, child's mind, an old person's mind, a universalist, a romanticist, a poet. He has understanding of everything. Wars, leaders, political leaders. एक छोटे बच्चे की big friendly giant. The movie, if you watch it, you'll feel some kid has directed it. So, and horror. This one, Poltergeist. It was by Spielberg only, right? Schindler's List, a great cinematic masterpiece because it was totally black and white, and one girl was in red. You remember that? Anyways, let's go to the next one. Ode on a Grecian Urn by John Keats. Hmm, here we go. Nobody is commenting. What happened? Okay. Kubrick, Nolan, Ridley Scott. Good. Good choices. I somehow think Nolan might come close to Spielberg after a few years. I can give him a few years and he can come close to because it's making Odyssey. Let's see how Odyssey performs. Anurag Kashyap, Arithro, I have a different perspective, opinion about him. I liked him a lot till the time he made Black Friday and even till Gangs of Wasseypur. But you know what? It looks like Anurag Kashyap is a person who is not a film director. He is a great film manager. He brings in the best talents. He knows where to bring the best talents. He'll be a good producer. And the problem is that he cannot handle movies on wide scale. If a lot of budget is given to him, he just screws it all. Anurag Kashyap. Also, it looks like he has watched so much of world cinema that nothing that he makes is original. Whatever I see by him, I always feel that this is something I have seen earlier and is majorly somehow inspired by Scorsese and Tarantino. Most of it. Chalo. I think you have taken the screenshot. Here we go. More than Anurag Kashyap, I like Vikramaditya Motwani. That person is a good director, but he directs very few movies. Satyajit Ray is the greatest. There shouldn't even be any discussion on Satyajit Ray's kind of cinema. Shyam Benegal is also good. Motwani and this Divakar Banerjee is a great director recently. By the way, my favorite in India is Rishikesh Mukherjee. I like him a lot. I watched all his movies. Just one room, one road, one street, one building. He can create the entire movie. All right. That's all. Okay. So let's understand this. By the way, I wanted to discuss something more. In the previous poem, Ozymandias, I want to just um, um, talk about a parallel in 21st century. See, this talks about, do you think that this poem is still relevant? Yes or no? It is still relevant in today's world. I'll tell you why. Because now, if you talk about, the CEOs of different companies, startups, so what exactly is happening? They are the present day kings, the king of the kings, just like Ozymandias, right? So you must have seen that different founders, they are driving in money, the paper money basically, selling some percentage of their companies at an inflated price, and that is like okay, and the social media is singing praises. What will exactly happen? The thing that is going to stay is not the names of those people. The thing that's going to stay is the drive, the courage, and the if they were real, right? They were honest. The drive and courage that was real, honest, and contemporary, and humility is what will stay, right? So this is how Ozymandias is still relevant today. That is why it's a great poem. It's a classic poem. It tests the time, uh, all the times, right? Since the time it was written. Getting it? Now coming to this one, old on a Grecian urn. What is Grecian? Anything that is related to ancient Greece. All right. Urn is kind of a vase. Is kind of a vase. On you must have seen that. You've seen a vase, right? A kind of a container in which you can put in flowers, you can put in um, wine, etc. That is an urn. Thou still unravished bride of quietness. Thou, matlab you. You still unravished bride of quietness. So basically, unravished, untouched, pure of quietness, thou foster child of silence and slow time, still one historian. So all these things, unravished bride of quietness, foster child of silence and slow time is all about John Keats is trying to what is the figure of speech? Who will tell me that? I think I discussed that figure of speech in Snap session. If you watch that, figure of speech here is apostrophe. Getting it? Because here the urn is not getting personified, but John Keats himself is talking to the urn as if it were a person. Getting it? So, apostrophe, apostrophe is a figure of speech in which a human, a living thing basically, a human talks to a non-living thing in such a way as if he's talking to a living thing. When you say, "Oh God," now God is a concept, right? It's not a living thing. Or we say, "Oh, um, oh laptop." It won't say, "Oh laptop." Oh mountains. Hey ocean. All that stuff. Like in Ramcharitmanas, when Lord Ram he asks the ocean that give me some way because I have to go and cross that, right? I have to go to Lanka, and my wife is there. She's abducted. So he was talking to the ocean. That was apostrophe. Getting it? And soon, when apostrophe was over in Ramcharitmanas, it went to personification because now ocean was ocean talked back after 3 days, just like a human would. याद है? विनय न माने विनय न माने जलधि जड़ गए 3 दिन बीत बोले राम सकोप तब भय बिन होए न प्रीत. विनय विनम्रता से राम जी ने कहा कि भाई मेरे को रास्ता दे दो. विनय न माने जलधि जड़. जलधि इज ओशन. जड़ स्टेशनरी. ओशन इज नॉट लिसनिंग टू हिम. विनम्रता से हाथ जोड़ के बोला कि मेरे को रास्ता दिखाए, रास्ता दे. विनय न माने जलधि जड़ गए 3 दिन बीत गए बोले राम सकोप तब. देन ही गॉट एंग्री. Okay, sakop, cope, matlab anger. So he got angry. Bhai bhi na hoy na preet. Without fear, there'll be no love. Now look at the kind of dark comedy over here, the dark reality. Bhai bhi na hoy na preet. You know what? Mahabharata and Ramayana, these two are epics which need, they need to be taught again in a very different context. This is very important. Okay, so maybe I'll do something about that. कितना कमाल की बात है, मैंने ऐसा बहुत कम देखा है कि एक ही इसमें व्हाट यू से स्टैंजा में एक ही साथ अपॉस्ट्रोफे से पर्सोनिफिकेशन हो गया हो. This is a huge, I would say, a kind of a victory what Tulsidas achieved while writing Ramcharitmanas. Getting it? Yes, Avi, it was Brahmastra. Bhai bin hoy na preet. Without fear, there is no love. So that is a really dark thing, and it's still relevant in today's landscape of geopolitics. I hope you understand that, right? Well, Sylvan is what is Sylvan? Sylvan is something that is related to forests, of woods. Sylvan, historian, who can't thus express a flowery tale more sweetly than our rhyme. Our is humans. So basically, when we when we express something, humans express something, we have got opinions, we have got some kind of perspective towards it. But the Sylvan historian, something that is of woods, would not be having an opinion. It would present the things the way they are. So basically, the Grecian urn, um, even if it might be having some kind of painting, some etchings. So all those things are somehow representing the things the way they are. Getting it? And that is what I talked about John Keats also. He was a believer of presenting things the way they are. Okay. Flowery tale, that means a tale in which we put in our uh, the humans our rhyme, like the humans put in their own opinions. Heard melodies are sweet, but those unheard are sweeter. All right. So when I tell you something that is sweet, that can be a sweet memory, but the memories that have been um, made by you, the imagined memories, just by looking at some kind of insignia, probably on the Grecian urn. John Keats saw something, some etchings, some paintings, some murals, and he felt that okay, so when you look at an urn, okay, I have this thing. See, it says coffee is always a good idea. Now, if I compare this to the Grecian urn, what does it mean? Am I visible anyway? Yeah, I'm visible. So you see this? It says coffee always is a good idea. Now, thing is, it is not giving me any memory. Probably I will give you memory on coffee. I met, uh, you know, these people and all that thing. All those things happen. But just by looking at it, coffee is always a good idea. It gives me a memory which has not been discussed. The memories which are not heard, the unheard memories, and that will be sweet. So it's just like, I'll tell you something. The things which you anticipate is much hard hitting than what is shown directly. I'll give an example of a web series, Delhi Crime. Delhi Crime has got no violent scenes at all, right? Except some blood and every things. But still, it is more hard hitting than most of the violent series, gory series that I have watched. Season one specifically, when there was a Nirbhaya, based on Nirbhaya gang rape case. So when I watched that, I was like feeling very disturbed, and they did not show anything. Right. So the kind of the unheard memories, the anticipation is much more. It can be beautiful, ugly, disturbing, whatever. Therefore, ye soft pipes play on, not to the sensual ear, but more endeared pipe to the spirit that is of no tone. So it's like, um, if you remember, not remember that there are two ways to show a couple in some sensual embrace. One is that the lips of the couple move together, and just before 1 inch, it changes, the scene changes, right? Or maybe if you have seen a painting in which the couples are about to kiss, but they don't kiss. And the other painting in which couples are kissing, even if it's total nudity, they are making love, everything is happening. You would like the one in which there is more anticipation, right? Will feel more sensualized. Do you understand that? And I hope this is something which happens to everyone, right? With everyone. If you have seen the paintings, So all nude paintings are not that much pretty as the paintings which are partially nude. I'm talking about sensuality here. So I talked about the violence also, the grit and gore. So basically, here they have used the sensual terms. So not to the sensual here, but more endeared. All of you got it? So ultimately, John Keats is kind of, he is supporting the things which are more anticipatory. And that is the reason the Sylvan historian, the Grecian urn, the things are not changing. Things which are imprinted, etched, or the same, the way will be the same. Time passes, but those things will be same on the Grecian urn. So it is something which makes you anticipate more and more. They're unheard memories, unheard melodies, which you might come across while looking at the Grecian urn. While ode is a kind of poem which talks about any specific occasion. Is that clear, everyone? That is what John Keats trying to say over here. Cool. So here are the questions. What is the central paradox explored regarding unheard melodies? So I told you, unheard music, it is like something that is in imagination, okay, and it is not the, okay, let's see. Silence is physically louder than sound in an empty room. Imagination provides a more perfect experience than physical reality. This looks totally correct to me. Musicians on the urn are actually deaf. This is out of context. Music is a distraction from the pursuit of truth. Again, out of context. Sensual ear is superior to the spirit. That is true, but that's not the central paradox here. We'll go for option B. Clear? Option A is also very close, but option B is talks about imagination specifically. So unheard melodies are melodies that are imagined. Clear? We'll go for B. Next one. Description of the urn as a silver historian suggests what? Silver is something that is from the woods, from the forests. The urn contains written record of military victories. No. Art communicates history through imagery rather than prose. This looks totally correct to me. Let's read others also. Only wooded dwellers can understand the message. No. The historian is from the woods. It doesn't mean that the only wooded dwellers can understand the message. On is an unreliable narrator because of its silence, not really because it is silent. That is the reason it is the reliable narrator because we can think of memories. History is a flowery tale that should be treated with skepticism. Not really. We make it flowery, but this is again, it is not talking about, going against the things that we have discussed. Arts communicates history through imagery rather than prose. Absolutely. So when there is art, things are not written, but things are imprinted, painted. That is basically imagery, not the prose. What is prose? The written word. Do you understand that? Prose and poetry. Prose is a written word. It consists of novels, stories, etc. And poetry, So that is what it is. Next. Which of the following best reflects that the concluding philosophical stance, the concluding stance. Okay, what's concluding stance here? Not to the sensual ear, but more endeared, pipe to the spirit, ditties of no tone. All right, ditties of no tone, when tone is not there. Okay. Aesthetic perfection is the only objective reality. Only objective reality, the way of only is extreme, will eliminate A. Truth is often ugly, while beauty is a deceptive mask. Truth is ugly or not, that has not been mentioned in the poem. Scientific knowledge is all you need to know. Scientific knowledge nowhere mentioned. It is out of context. Beauty and truth define the limit of human understanding. That can be true. Humanity's other woe can only be solved by destroying the urn, again out of context. So even if you don't get the correct answer, you can eliminate four options clearly. Beauty and truth define the limit of human understanding. That is the thing. By the way, do you remember that quotation? A thing of beauty is joy forever, and beauty lies in the eyes of beholder. Keats ने बोला था वो. Beauty lies in the eyes of beholder. Okay, coming to next one. Lord Byron. This is the person I talked about in the last class when poems by women. You remember that? Chalo, isko kar. Who all are still present? No, Prathamesh, there's no TSC today. I'll do it some other day. Because TSC in time and work, there were three sessions, but three are not required, only two are required. But poem के लिए एक ही session था, so I felt there should be more sessions on poem. That is why I added this. I'll add one more session about poem in the long marathon. Existing. Cool. Okay, we start this. This is a brilliant poem. Brilliant. Yes, Prathamesh, area test, section tests are different. Totally different. Sectional tests are section wise, and area tests are topic wise. So let's go to the questions. Next. Next. Which line, Prathamesh? One shade the more, one really less. Oh, वो पोम में था, वो मैंने काट दिया है गलती से. Don't worry, I'll just send it in the this thing. What do you call the comments? Okay. By the way, have you guys not read this poem? पहले कभी भी. ये भी आईसीएसई बोर्ड में थी. मैंने तो वहीं पढ़ी है. And I became a fan of Lord Byron क्योंकि उसमें ना book में I don't know which book was that. The book had a picture of Lord Byron as well. He was such a handsome man. I read a lot about him afterwards. Oh, I cannot even send the entire poem here. No problem. देखो यहाँ तक आया. Okay. Do not comment now because people are might be seeing this. सब लोग उसको देख लें एक बार. All right. Here we go. There are four comments that I have sent. Okay. The question. Heaven to Gaudi, Daily Rise के बाद जो clip है वही है वो. One shade the more, one ray the less, had half impaired the nameless grace. The poem याद हो गई थी मेरे को. All right. And this one. एक स्टैंजा गायब है ना वहां से. All right. जो मैंने अभी भेज रहा हूं ना मैं. That is the exact stanza that was not there. One shade the more, one ray the less, had half impaired the nameless grace, which waves in every ramen tress, or softly lightens over her face, with thoughts serenely sweet express how pure, how dear their dwelling place. Okay, so let's see. She walks in beauty. Now, okay. She walks in beauty like the night of cloudless climes and starry skies. Cloudless climes. So basically, she walks in beauty. She's a beautiful woman and she's walking the night of cloudless climes. The climate is cloudless and sky is starry. So it looks like, a high kind of imagery, high level imagery of a woman is walking, and on the backdrop, there is night and the stars are there. And all that's best of dark and bright meet in her aspect and her eyes. So basically, what poet is trying to say over here, see, dark and bright. So author is trying to say that Whenever there is a harmony between two contrasting things, that is what makes the real beauty. Understood? Thus, mellowed to the tender light which heaven to gaudy day denies, one shade the more, one ray the less, had half impaired the nameless grace which waves in every raven tress, hair, waves, raven tress, raven is black, or softly lightens over her face. So when the hair move like this, so soft light आता है उसका ना, the real natural soft light, where thoughts serenely sweet express, how pure, how dear, their dwelling place. Dwelling place. Now, you want to, there's one thing which you need to understand that very beautifully and very quickly, Lord Byron moved from the external beauty to the internal thoughts. He internalized that, right? So lightens over her face where thoughts serenely sweet express. The thoughts चेहरे पे दिखाई दे रहे हैं. How pure, how dear their dwelling place. Dwelling place is the heart. Getting it? So Lord Byron talks about the external beauty. If it is balanced by the internal beauty, that is the real beauty. Understood? And on that cheek and over that brow, so soft, so calm, yet eloquent, the smiles that win, the tints that glow. So ultimately, Lord Byron's trying to say that the real beauty is all about the harmony, the balance between the outer beauty and the inner beauty. All right, that is what he means, and that is the reason why this poem is such a popular poem. And nobody told me. Did you read it earlier? Okay, the comparison to Night of Cloudless Climes primarily emphasizes her mysterious and unattainable social status. Social status is not being talked about. Beauty that is harmonious and composed of contrasting elements. I discussed that, so B is totally correct. I don't think I have to discuss others. Speaker's preference for darkness with a gaudy day. Women's literal physical environment, fleeting nature of her physical appearance. So B is here, which talks about harmony and balance. We'll go for that. The line regarding one shade the more, one ray the less suggests what? Her grace is vulnerable to slightest change in lighting. Her beauty is product of meticulous cosmetic application. Her grace is perfect equilibrium that cannot be easily defined. Grace is vulnerable to change in lighting? Not really. It doesn't really matter because it's a balance of two. Cosmetic application to 21st century, and obviously this is not the what author is trying to say here. Her grace is diminished by the presence of raven tresses? No, it's not diminished. In fact, it is or kind of refined. Love is only innocent when it is soft and calm. Love की बात नहीं की थी, बात सिर्फ beauty की की थी. We'll go for C, equilibrium. Part of curriculum, yes. The transition for of the women's to the women's moral character suggests physical beauty is deceptive facade for an innocent heart. It's not a facade. If it is balanced, that's a great thing. External appearance is an eloquent reflection of internal virtue. Okay. Smiles that win are tool used by mind to achieve peace. No, smile did not achieve peace. It is for achieving charm. Goodness is only achievable by those with tints that glow, tints that glow. Love is only innocent when it is soft and calm. So basically, external appearance is a reflection. So what, in the end, Lord Byron is not just saying that a balance should be achieved between inner and external beauty. All he says is he has kind of very much, factualized the concept that if there is external beauty, it must come from inner beauty, right? So whatever is external appearance is a reflection of internal virtue. That is what Lord Byron suggests. Is that clear? Do you understand that? Okay. So in the end, like it starts talking about the contrary things being balanced, and in the end, he kind of factualizes that whatever is outer, the beauty appearance, is coming from inside. Cool, clear. By the way, I would like tell you that Lord Byron, when we use Lord anywhere, that is basically royalty or nobility. You understand that, right? He can be a royal or a noble person. Nobles are connected to royals. Okay. And his daughter was Lady Ada Lovelace. Heard about her? Very relevant. Lady Ada Lovelace. Who has heard about her? A little 20 seconds before revealing who she actually was. Lady Ada Lovelace was the first computer programmer In fact, I should not call it computer, linear programmer, as I should call her. She was the apprentice of Charles Babbage. Who was Charles Babbage? The father of computers, right? He made an engine called the difference engine, also known as the analytical engine. If you have read that in history of computers, बचपन में पढ़ा होगा, it was a huge building sort of thing. And Lady Ada Lovelace was the first person who was, kind of programmed that entire computer. In fact, to give a tribute to her, a computer language named Ada still exists. All right, Lady Ada Lovelace. Now think about that. Lord Byron was a poet and his daughter was a mathematician. How cool is that? Lady Ada Lovelace के बारे में भी बात करूंगा मैं. She was very young when she died of solitude and heartbreak and alcoholism. Okay, well, let's go to the next one. Rudyard Kipling, the writer of Jungle Book. Okay, here we go. Imitation Game, not watched. Do watch it. Imitation Game was not about Babbage. I think you know that, right? Babbage की मूवी बनी नहीं कोई अभी तक. I don't think so. These lines were clipped down in case you require them. I think you'll require them. So let's just read the comments that I have sent you. Those are lines which will be here. I'll just read that for you. They shut the road through the woods 70 years ago. Weather and rain have undone it again. And now you would know, and now you would never know there was once a road through the woods. So simple line, right? There was once a road through the woods before they planted the trees. It is underneath the coppice and heath, wood trees के नाम है, and the thin anemones, again plants. Only the keeper sees that where the ring dove broods, ring dove, a bird, kind of a bird, there was once a road through the woods. Yet if you enter the woods of a summer evening late, when the night air cools on the trout-ringed pools, where the otter whistles his mate, they fear not men in the woods because they see so few. Otters are not afraid of men now. They see so few. You'll hear the beat of a horse's feet and the swish of a skirt in the dew. steadily cantering through the misty solitudes as though they knew the old lost road, but there is no road through the woods. Such a beautiful poem. All right, questions. The poem creates a tension between which two primary concepts? This poem is very easy. Rudyard Kipling's main, I would say his strength was writing the easiest words of English, but still making so much sense to it, such depth to it. In fact, people who think that the Jungle Book was a juvenile literature written for children, they are wrong. Jungle Book is a proper universal. In fact, I would say it's not for children. Jungle Book. It is very deep, very deep. It talks about human supremacy, point number one. It also talks about the cooperative animals, and also talks about a lot of political power. If you read it closely, I think you must have watched the movie and the cartoon series, but how many of you have read the novel? I have read the novel, and that novel is much more than what they can show in the movie. And the best thing about about that novel is that a lot of novels in which animals start talking are known as fables. Fables में क्या होता है? All the animals start talking like humans, right? Those are fables. Aesop's fables, India में Panchtantra, all that stuff. Why Jungle Book is different? Because in Jungle Book, even when the animals talk, animals have got their personalities. Like a bear talks like a bear behaves like a bear, a panther behaves like a panther, a wolf behaves like a wolf. Do you understand that? That is the most important and most brilliant thing that I have seen read in the Jungle Book. While um, when I said the Lion King, in the Lion King also, the lion is shown to be a king, but the way lion behaves, the way lion thinks, is very much similar to a human. So even if you replace the lion with a human, story doesn't change in the Lion King, right? But in Jungle Book, if you replace the wolf by a dog, you feel there's something is wrong. That is the main thing over there. The reason why Mowgli was adopted by wolves, he was saved by the panther, the black panther called Bagheera. But Bagheera gave it to wolves because Bagheera somehow knew the panther was wise. He knew that panther is a lonely animal, lives in solitude, cannot bring up a child, and that too human child. So the closest animals to humans in the wild are wolves because wolves are social. They also have hierarchies. That's the reason. In fact, I don't know how many of you um, identify that. Okay, 13th, 14th, now coming to 15th. This is the last question for today. Be quick. Wolf back, yes. Okay, I hope you've gone through it. The poem creates a tension between two primary concepts. One is one concept is there was a road in somewhere in the in the history 70 years ago, right? Right, and there is still some kind of persistence to it. How? Because you can hear that horses fleet, right? Horses footsteps, Where are you hearing them from? It's kind of something that is out worldly, isn't it? So the two things, the tensions, are the erasure of history and the psychic persistence of the past. Clear? If you look at the first one, keeper's knowledge and badger's ignorance. Badger ignorance has been mentioned, but that is not the primary concept. Danger of the woods and the safety of the lost road. Now, danger, it's not danger. In fact, the poet is happy that now the wood is gone, the road is gone, so the animals are less fearful. They're not fearful because there are no humans now. Silence of the animals and the whistle of the otter, they are not primary concepts. Industrialization and preservation of the coppice, it's not preserved. So, yeah, primary concept. Fear not men. Why they're not fearing men? Because human presence is not there. Men who enter are keepers and protectors. Not really. Human presence has become so rare, it isn't threat. That is the exact thing. 70 years back, there were humans. There was a road. We don't know road was there or not. Because now it is gone. There is no trace left. Just some kind of ghostly, outwardly presence is there. Because animals provided by the misty solitudes? No. Horses' feet provide a warning sound. This is a thing, a warning sound. Horses' feet are providing the kind of a remnants of past, but that is not the reason why they're not fearing, fearful of humans. Road was shut 70 years ago. That's the correct thing, but it was shut and human presence is not there. So road getting shut is the first line of thought, but the immediate line of thought, single thought is this: because the road was shut, so humans are not there, and that is the reason. So road getting shut was responsible for human presence being very thin, but animals not fearing the men is because of human presence, not the road getting shut. So you might be confused between options B and E, but B serves as the immediate cause, immediate reason. Is that clear? Not E. Concluding line, but there is no road through the woods. Okay, let us look at that line again. The misty solitudes as though they knew the old lost road. Solitudes probably, okay. Swish of a skirt in the dew, steadily cantering through the misty solitudes as though they knew the old lost road. But there's no road through the woods. Road है ही नहीं. तो यहाँ पे कुछ remnants of past. Okay, let's see the options. Correct a factual error made by the speaker? No factual error. Reiterate the absolute victory of nature over engineering? Um, Maybe. Create a ghostly ambiguity for by contrasting experience with reality. Okay, in the reality there is no road, but there is experience of the horse's footsteps in the swish of a skirt. So C looks better to me. D, warn the reader against trying to find the misalludes. That is not the case. This keeper has been lying about it again, out of context. Between B and C, what should be chosen? Uh, Absolute victory of nature over engineering has been discussed earlier. It is being reiterated. But you know what? Just before writing this line, there was a contrasting experience of footsteps and the swish of a skirt. So this experience with reality, and the reality is there is no road. So there's a ghostly ambiguity here. We'll go for C. Clear? Last question might be difficult. You might choose to skip it, or maybe you will mark B for that. How many of you did it wrong? Hmm. You marked B. I think a lot of people would have marked B. Prathamesh was right. Yes, Prathamesh, that's right. Okay. How do you like the session? It's something new. I just enjoy taking BRC sessions somehow. Okay, then. That's all. I'll see you tomorrow. Take care. Enjoy your evening. What enjoy? Just go through things that need to be done. Okay, by the way, all of you already have the tests. 6 full length tests are there. 12 sectional tests are there, and 40 area tests are there. So I suggest that start giving the full length mocks now. Uh, it is just 2 weeks away, and there are 6 mocks. I would suggest that all of you should write all 6 mocks. Okay, so start writing a mock today. You will be having time. There's no session at 9. So write one mark today and tell me your scores in the group. I will open the group for a while. All right. Okay. Bye. Take care. Good night.